So hopefully everyone can see those questions, that first question come up okay. And now put up the second question. And finally, the third question. Great, perfect. Okay, so let's crack on and kick off with the webinar. My name is Ed Nicklin, and I'm from Tipac. I'm just going to run you through a couple of brief slides to tell you a little bit about us. So hopefully you can see my screen okay. Okay, so who is Tipac? So we were formed in 2010 and we provide digital workflow and automation solutions to the print and IT channels. Historically, this began in the Xerox channel, but we now work with all flavors of resellers across the UK. Core areas we provide are scanning, capture and automation, workflow solutions, print management including card readers, we're a reseller distributor for Editech, and also content management solutions. An example of some of the clients we've helped so far, AIG, DHL, CBRE, Fuji and James Walker. These are obviously large organizations, but we've also worked with various SMBs as well, providing solutions to those through our resellers. And we are a Xerox innovative partner. So how do we deliver this to our channel partners? We provide a whole range of pre-sales support, so that's whether that's attending meetings with our resellers to help them close opportunities and learn the solutions. We provide normal and 24-hour support. We have very much a handheld approach, so we work very close with our resellers. We provide demo and POC offerings, so demo straight from the box. We can provide demo of all of our applications for our resellers and clients, and we provide a proof of concept offering where we provide a full solution for the client to sign off on at the very end of that proof of concept to ensure that it delivers everything the client requires. We have a number of customer reference stories. We have cloud and on-premise solutions. All of our solutions are 3 to 5 year reliable solutions, provide annual ongoing revenue. And our partners have access to the Tipac portal for up-to-date documentation pricing. So that pretty much is an overview of Tipac. I'd now like to hand over to Steve, who is going to give you a run through of the demonstration.
Perfect. Thanks, Ed. Good afternoon, everyone. As we transition to my screen, I'll quickly introduce myself as well as Printer Logic. I'm Steve Kelly. I am a senior system engineer at Printer Logic here in the United States. And the solution that we'll be presenting today is called Printer Installer. Now, Printer Installer is a solution that drastically simplifies not only the IT experience in managing print queues, but as well as drastically improve the end user experience in discovering printers and installing a printer on their own. Now, Printer Logic as a company started about 15 years ago when our founder was working as a system administrator. At that time, there was as what some would call a great migration from the Novell iPrint solution to Microsoft print servers. If anyone experienced that great migration, you know that it was very clumsy and very time-consuming. And so our founder decided to take that upon himself to be able to create a solution to ease that migration process. Now, in doing so, migrating over to Microsoft print servers, he shortly realized that there were some shortcomings and pitfalls of managing print servers themselves as well. Now, print servers do give you a centralized management, but where they fall short is they don't give you a great way to install printers. You have to leverage other tools like third-party scripting tools or GPOs, and it's very end-users hands-off. It's really an IT task to deploy those print queues out to each and every desktop. Print servers also had a very tough time managing the print queues in a way that did not impact the entire environment. A great example is if a print server's spooler crashes, nobody can use the 20, 30, or plus print queues that are on that print server until that server is then resolved. Print servers also had the problem with increasing infrastructure. Now, typically, most remote sites will have a single file print server at each location. So if you're a large customer or corporation that has hundreds of remote locations, you now have a server sprawl where you have hundreds of print servers that are now needing maintenance, patch support, and management. And driver management was also quite a headache, especially with the introduction of 64-bit architectures. Now, some corporations were trying to manage print servers separate for the 32-bit operating systems, and a whole duplicate fleet of print servers to manage just their 64-bit drivers. And then as we've seen just recently with the onboarding of virtual environments, print servers do struggle with managing those print queues and those drivers in environments like VDI and Citrix terminal applications, as well as published desktops. And with all of this comes a flood of help desk calls. And every printer installation request or driver error or virtual environment that is struggling with printing does require a help desk ticket to be created, which now burdens the IT team. Now, to address some of these problems, there has been the legacy approach of bolting on solutions. Now, one vendor or company may come out and try to solve the driver management piece. Another one will create another product that tries to simplify poll printing or SMP monitoring. And essentially what you're doing is you are layering your print server by creating all these different applications and utilities to simply just manage printing. Now, where Printer Logic comes in is we've decided a better approach is why not eliminate the print server and eliminate all of those bolt-on applications to manage the printing environment and give an IT department a holistic print management solution that not only simplifies their time and efforts, but also simplifies the end user experience. Now, in taking this integrated approach, it helped to identify the 3 different types of printing architectures that have grown over the years. Now, the first approach is a centralized print server model, where a corporate headquarters in their main data center will have a single print server that will publish print queues out to all the branch offices. Now, the downfall of this model is it increased WAN traffic. Every print job was now traveling through the WAN link to that data center, which caused a burden on network infrastructure, but also a burden on your end users. End users were now waiting after clicking print for their jobs to be routed centrally and then come back on site before they actually start printing out on the print device. The second approach is to come up with a distributed print model where a print server would reside at each location. Now, the problem with this is we go back to that print server sprawl scenario where you're now managing a print server at each and every location. So anytime a patch needs to be pushed out or a driver needs to be changed, it is very burdensome to remote into each one of these print servers and to make each individual change. Now there is a third architecture that we've seen, which is an unmanaged direct IP environment, where you are able to get rid of your print servers, but each print queue is now managed at each individual endpoint. Now we saw that all three of these scenarios, none of them were ideal. So that is where Printer Logic decided to come up with, if you will, our own architecture, which we are calling a managed direct IP environment. So rather than leveraging print servers at each site or depending on that print server centrally, Printer Logic installs a web-based application at your data center. And then we utilize an agent that resides on the desktops to then manage the print queues that are installed for the user. Now that gives the benefit of each print job that needs to be printed staying on the local area network, going directly from the workstation straight over to the printer. It does not require going through the WAN link and does not require to be spooled on a centralized server. So now that gives everybody a background on the printer installer solution, we'd actually like to take everyone through the product and show you how we accomplish this simplified IT print management, as well as simplifying the end user experience. Now, to introduce Printer Installer, it's first important to understand the architecture of the solution, or how it sits in an environment from an infrastructure standpoint. Now, all that we require from a customer is one single server. Now, that one server is going to have mainly two web pages that it's publishing. The first web page is what you're seeing right now. This is an administrative console that IT staff are now able to log in and manage those print queues. The second web page that single server is going to be publishing is a self-service portal page. This is a web page directed towards your end users. It gives them a location to visit to discover a printer that they need and install it on their own without requiring any IT assistance or any help desk ticket. Now, outside of those two web pages being published off of that single server, there is a third component, which is this agent or client, which you see down here in my system icon tray. Now, that agent is pushed out to both your physical workstations as well as to inside any virtual environment that customer may be using. That includes Citrix VDI or Citrix published desktops or terminal applications, as well as VMware's Horizon View VDI solution. Now, what that agent is responsible for in all of those environments is simply managing the print queues that are installed, including the drivers that are associated with those print queues, as well as help with any reporting and auditing functionality from the desktop level. And now that we've seen the three different components to the solution, we'd like to show you how it's actually leveraged. Now, one of the most typical questions that we get right off the bat is, how do print queues get from a print server into Printer Installer? Now, we provide IT teams this very simple import utility that allows them to run a import tool directly from that Microsoft print server. They just simply specify the IP address or host name of that print server. They expand it to see a list of the queues that are currently on it. Now, to bring them into Printer Installer, you just simply assign them to a folder that that IT department is able to create. Then by clicking that green arrow, we automatically will go out there and do a read-only process to that print server and copy the queues exactly the way they're set up on that server into our solution. So what an imported print queue looks like is right here. If we take a look at my Xerox device, we'll see from the import the printer name, the location, and the comment fields automatically came over from that server, as well as the IP address or host name. And probably most importantly is to note that we grab both the 32 and the 64-bit drivers that are being used on that same print server, and we import them into our product. Now, IT departments love this import process for a few different reasons. One is because they have spent years setting up those print servers and all of the associated information, like the drivers and the metadata associated with that print queue. And they are pleased to find out that running an import with Printer Installer, they do not lose any of that years of work. They get an exact copy of that print queue within our tool. They also appreciate that they have the exact same drivers that they already are using in their environment imported. We're not introducing any new driver sets. They're not tested inside both their desktop environment as well as their virtual environment. Now, after importing their print queues from those print servers, there's only one other step to get fully implemented, which is simply push out that agent to the workstations themselves. And that is done with a standard MSI file for any Microsoft PCs. We do also support a PKG installation tool. That way we can support any Mac desktops. And there's even a Debian-based installation file for your Linux desktops. Now, by pushing out that agent with whatever network installation tool you're using, that agent will automatically convert those users' currently installed printers into direct IP print queues. Now, one of the benefits of the way that conversion happens is there is no interaction required by the end user. There's no prompt, there's no reboot. Really, a lot of customers don't even notice that migration has taken place or that conversion to direct IP printing. The same printers they had the day before the migration are the exact same printers they're going to see the day after. Really, all that is happening is under the hood, that agent is taking their print queues, which are shared Microsoft print queues, into direct IP printers. Now, after the agent has gone through that conversion process, at that point, any business is able to completely eliminate their print server without any downtime. They simply pull the plug on them or repurpose those virtual machines. And from that point on, anytime a user clicks print on the workstation they're working on, that job will be rendered and spooled at the operating system level and sent directly to that printer. It does not travel through our server, and it no longer travels through a print server. There's a couple huge inherent benefits to this direct IP printing model. One is if our server goes offline or there's a network outage, or a firewall blocking the data center, the great news is that does not impact printing at all. Users in those temporary outages continue to print to any printer they have, even if our server is not accessible. A huge advantage over the print server model. The other benefit is you now have a single pane of glass to manage printing throughout a global enterprise environment. There's no longer the need to remote into individual print servers at remote sites. From this folder tree, you will see every print queue at each location and are capable of managing those print queues from the printer installer web interface. Now, one of the first areas that I want to talk about in regards to managing print queues from the IT department's view is how print queues get installed at the workstation or inside the virtual environment. Now, typically in the past, IT departments had to leverage, as I mentioned, group policies or scripting, or worst case scenario, dispatching a technician every time a print queue needs to be installed at a new site. Now, with Printer Installer, we get rid of the need for any of those methods. What we allow is a more streamlined way of pushing out a print queue, as well as giving many different options to accomplish that task. So here on the Xerox printer, for example, if I know that this new MFP needs to be distributed to an entire team, rather than creating a group policy or a script, I would simply come in here to the Add button, simply target how I want to push that print queue out. For this example, I'm going to use an Active Directory group of my marketing team. Now, by making this assignment here in the web interface, anytime anyone logs into a desktop, to a VDI session, or even connects to a terminal application, the agent that is running will detect that that user belongs to the marketing group, and then will know that that Xerox printer, if not already there, needs to be pulled down and silently installed for that user. Now, deploying out per Active Directory group is one example. IT teams also find it useful to target entire containers or OUs, or make very specific assignments targeting individual user accounts or computer accounts. Now, one of the big benefits of deploying through this Active Directory method is, again, there is no need for a specific group policy to be associated with that printer deployment. Now, outside of Active Directory, we can also push out print queues through IP address range, host name, or MAC address. One of the most popular methods of pushing out printers is through IP address range. The reason so is this allows a company to set up location-aware printing. So the story behind that is, as an end user, as I may be traveling through different floors or even different buildings, the agent that is on my laptop is able to detect what IP range I am on. So when I'm at the floor 1 IP location, I get the floor 1 printers that have been assigned to me. But even better, if I leave that location and travel to floor 2, the agent is intelligent enough and aware to make those printer changes. So all of my floor 1 printers disappear, and arriving at floor 2, now the printers for that location are automatically installed. So as an end user, as I travel, I do not need to create those help desk tickets and wait for my turn in the help desk queue to get printers installed. They're just magically there and ready for me to start using. I also don't have to carry around a list of hundreds of print devices for all the different remote locations that I may be visiting. I simply see the printers I need for that specific site at that specific time that I need them. Now, a lot of IT departments are pleased to find out that this actually works the exact same way in a virtual environment as well. If I am connecting from a thin client or a laptop to a VDI farm or a terminal application, that agent is going to be looking at the endpoint's IP address and not concerned with the server farm that they're connecting to. So even in that virtual environment, I am getting location-based printing. Now, outside of deployment assignments, we also give the user the ability to install a printer on their own. This has been a huge hit for both IT departments as well as the end user base. Typically, when a user does need a printer installed, they do need to submit a help desk ticket, and then depending on the SLAs of that help desk team, that user is waiting 2, 4, or plus hours just to simply get a print queue installed. Now, the end user is frustrated because they just simply need a printer and to be able to continue working. The help desk team is frustrated because they are being inundated with help desk requests for just getting printers installed. So the approach that printer installer has taken, as customers are simply going to visit this URL, or they are able to click on that agent in their system icon tray, and by clicking that agent, it takes them not only to this URL, but as you'll see here, it drills them all the way down to their specific folder. Now when they're here, they can see a list of printers either in a list view, like you see down below, or optionally, a lot of companies will set up a map. Now we've seen the map to be a huge benefit to the end user. Now to most users who are traveling or in large offices where there may be lots of print devices, it's very hard for a user to know that the printer they want is simply that Xerox named device. But seeing it located here on the map, they see it here in this office where they're working nearby, they know that no matter what the printer's name is or IP address, this is the exact printer that they want. They simply confirm the installation, and from there our agent takes over. It detects what operating system they're on, be it a Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10 device, or even Mac OS X or Linux. After determining the operating system, it detects what architecture they're on, so it knows to use a 32 or 64-bit driver. And then it installs that print queue for them just like any other native Windows, Mac, or Linux printer. That user can then drive on, continue printing, and continue working. Now they're excited because as you see, the turnaround time from needing a device to getting one is only a matter of seconds. The help desk team, of course, is excited because we just reduced one more help desk call that they need to get to. Now, some of the other benefits of the self-service portal page is we absolutely can set up restricting which printers are viewable and installable by which users. So those sensitive check printers that your accounting team may need, they may see that printer up here in the top left and able to install it on their own. But somebody from the marketing team or a help desk technician, for example, would not have access to that sensitive device. They would not know it exists here on the map or on this web page, and of course would not be able to install it on their own. Now, not only can we make those restrictions per printer, we can make the same restrictions per folder as well. So a user who is currently located in the headquarters building are only seeing the headquarters folders. They're not seeing any of the other folders for the remote sites that they're not currently visiting. Now, last but not least, on the self-service portal page, users can quickly discover a printer, not knowing where it's located at. If they know they need that new Xerox printer, they can type in its name, its location information, or comment information, and the web page will take them directly to that print queue, allowing them to install it on their own. Now, those are the two methods of getting printers distributed, either the push method of an IT team proactively deploying print queues out, or if you will, a pull method where a user then discovers a printer that they need and pulls it down using that self-service portal. Now, printer installations is only one part of print management, and Printer Logic realized that. So within Printer Installer has given quite a few different utilities for the IT team to now manage those print queues. One of the most important tools is the driver and profile management tool. Now, from this tab, you see the drivers that are going to be used for that specific print queue. Now, if an IT team needs to change out that driver, they can use the drop-down menu and select a driver that is being utilized by any other print queue already uploaded to Printer Installer. Now, if they need to use a unique driver that the environment has not seen before, they just simply click the Upload New Driver button to upload a fresh driver that they grabbed from the manufacturer's website. Now, one of the benefits of the driver management in Printer Installer is we manage both 32 and 64-bit drivers here on the same server, but they are independent packages of each other. Now, what that means is if you've experienced in the past managing both driver sets on a Windows print server, you would have to make sure that the driver versions match exactly the same across architectures. If your Windows 7 32-bit driver did not match your Windows 7 64-bit driver, you would run into driver corruption issues and where print jobs would fail at the print server level. Now, with our solution, because those drivers are completely independent, our agent is able to automatically detect exactly what driver needs to be used for that connecting operating system and pulls down that exact package. The other benefit to our driver management is that it is a holistic solution where you are managing all of your Windows drivers, and as I mentioned earlier, you are also able to manage your Linux and your Mac OS X drivers from the same screen. And you are even able to specify exactly which Citrix drivers are going to be used inside your Citrix sessions. You can continue to use the Citrix Universal Print driver, or now you have the option to upload discrete drivers as well into those Citrix sessions. Now, outside of the driver management, just real quickly, there are quite a few other tools that we're not going to go into in depth, but just to make you aware of. There's also the ability to manage queues. This one is very surprising to a lot of IT departments when they think of direct IP printing. They don't realize or would first feel that they do not have the ability to manage the individual queues. So the question comes up is, what happens if a job gets stuck? Do I have to remote into the workstation? The answer is no. From this web interface, from wherever that IT technician is working from, they're able to log in. They'll see every print job being spooled by any workstation that is destined for this printer. They're able to select those stuck jobs or any active jobs and click the delete button. And that sends a remote stop signal down to that workstation, freeing that job up. Now, if there are a lot of stuck jobs, we also have SNMP monitoring, so you can see why those jobs are failing. It could be something as simple as low toner, low paper, or there could be a service request, all easily accessible here again from that same web interface. Printer Installer also has the ability to monitor for specific events. If we detect a certain event has happened, we can automatically generate an email and send it to the technician that is responsible for that area. Now, that is an overview of Printer Installer and how we manage print environments. Now, typically when we go into an environment, our goal is to eliminate the print servers and help reduce that print infrastructure. One is because there is an associated hard cost with maintaining those print servers. And even if those print servers are virtualized, there are soft costs that are associated as well. Now, Printer Logic understands that there are times when a print server simply is not capable of being eliminated. Now, if a customer has a legacy application that requires a shared print queue, then the approach is that we will eliminate those print servers where we can. Where we cannot, we will simply install that agent on the print server itself. And that allows us to then manage those shared print queues with all the same functionality that you've seen with our direct IP printing environment. That means you can now change drivers, but by making these driver assignments, our agent will make that change at the server level rather than the desktop level. That also gives the ability to make deployment assignments for shared print queues without leveraging group policies or scripting. And we still have the ability to deploy self-service installations, even though these would be shared queues printing to a print server. If everybody will bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and jump back to our slide to demonstrate this in a little bit more detail. Now, with that print server up and running, it may have third-party applications running like PaperCut or any other output management solution. Now, Printer Logic simply will set up on our own dedicated server. We still deploy out our agent to each workstation. Now, that third-party app server would also deploy its agent to the desktops and, if need be, deploying to the MFP directly as well. As you can see, that print traffic still travels from the workstation directly to the printer. The third-party app server is capable of capturing whatever information that they are concerned with. And Printer Logic is still capable of managing the drivers and as well as provide a self-service portal and a ability to distribute those print queues. Now, this is what Printer Logic calls coexistence. We do coexist with quite a few different third-party applications. Now, if any customer has any specific examples, if there is coexistence between their applications and the way Printer Logic runs, and then we just highly recommend taking advantage of our free proof of concept with them that allows them to test not only our solution, but our solution inside their environment alongside their third-party apps. Now with that, that gives everyone a good introduction into Printer Installer. So I will go ahead and turn back the time over to Ed. I appreciate everyone's time and attention and look forward to hopefully working with you in the future.
Thanks very much, Steve. That was great. Hopefully, guys, that gave you a bit of an overview of the solution. But really, the areas that we were trying to focus on a little bit there was the fact that we can work with other products, third-party products, fast deployment, so we can deploy out to multiple printers very, very quickly. We actually have some stats and some figures as to how quickly Printer Logic can be deployed. For very large environments within a couple of days. So the speed is incredibly quick, and also around the driver management in demonstrating how quick and easy it is to manage those drivers on an ongoing basis. And then finally the self-service area around giving the power to the users to be able to manage those printers themselves, so they don't have to contact the IT teams. So these are kind of the main areas we wanted to focus on. Obviously, if you want to arrange a more in-depth demonstration with one of your customers or with your internal teams, then obviously get in touch with me. You've got my details. So hopefully you found the webinar useful today, and thank you very much for your time. Thanks very much, Steve. Thank you, guys.